What's up, Lost Zone? It's Nick again. You might remember my virtual world deck profile. That was a mess. Today though, I've got my stuff together and I'm showing you guys a Rescue Ace deck profile. This is an awesome deck. It is Fire Warrior and Fire Machine. And let's just get right into it. So for starters, you have to play 3 copies of Rescue Ace Hydrant. This card has 3 lovely effects. The first of which is if you control another Rescue Ace monster, your opponent cannot target this for any, it's another name specifically, can't target this for any effects or any attacks. It is also your monster searcher, and if a Rescue Ace card or back row has been set this turn by an effect, you can activate one of those, be it spell or a quick play spell or a normal trap. So yeah, mandatory card, does all the good things. Next up, we play triple copies of Rescue Ace Impulse. This guy has got 2 effects. The first effect is that if your opponent, the first effect is you can target an opponent's monster, and then that monster cannot activate its effects that turn. And then if your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can tribute this guy and special summon any Rescue Ace machine type monster from your deck. And then for the second of the 3 warrior names, you got to play 3 copies of Rescue Ace Airlifter. On summon, Airlifter searches you a Rescue Ace spell, and then if your opponent activates a monster effect while this is in your hand or field, just like Impulse, you can tribute it to special a Rescue Ace with a different name from your hand. And then the only remaining warrior name we only play 1 of, which is Rescue Ace Monitor. It's mainly because you don't really need it's mainly because his on summon effect isn't that great. On summon, he searches a Rescue Ace trap card, and then his hand or graveyard hand trap effect is, or hand or field hand trap effect is, if again opponent activates a monster effect while it's in your hand or field, tribute it, target a Rescue Ace with a different name in your graveyard, and special summon it. And then for the bigger names, or middle size names really, we play 2 copies of Rescue Ace Fire Attacker. If another Rescue Ace is summoned while this is in your hand, it'll special summon itself. And then if your opponent adds a card from deck to hand except by drawing, this guy allows you to draw 2 and add 1, or and discard 1, so I don't really like playing Droll just for that reason. You can, I just kind of don't prefer it. I don't prefer, you could sign it. And then the other middle level name is the level 7 Fire, or Rescue Ace Fire Engine. Just like Fire Attacker, if another Rescue Ace is summoned while it's in your hand, you can special summon him. However, if your opponent special summons a monster while he's on the board, he then gets to special summon for you a level 4 or lower Rescue Ace monster from the deck. And then this card is the newest monster for this deck. You play 3 copies of Rescue Ace Preventer. This is one of the 2 big names in the deck. So Preventer can be special summoned by banishing any Rescue Ace card from your graveyard. It has a quick effect to flip an opponent's monster face down. It does target with that. And then if this hits your graveyard in any way, game mechanic, monster or card effect, cost, or battle, it allows you to special summon a differently named Rescue Ace monster that is banished. And then the last Rescue Ace you play is 2 copies of Rescue Ace Turbulence. This is the card that everyone knows about, so it's pretty easy to summon. You just need to banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard. It has an ignition effect that lets you set 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells or normal traps from your deck with different names. And then once per turn, if a Rescue Ace, or actually any card, leaves your field by an opponent's card effect, or maybe even just card, I'm pretty sure, then you get to target and destroy a card in their field. Those are the Rescue Ace monsters that you play. For external support, you play 3 copies of Gizmek Naganaki, which this card is essentially it's awesome for any machine deck like that has monsters of the same attack. So you contribute a machine you control that has the same attack and defense, special one with a lower level, so this guy on his own gets you right to Hydrant. And then you can banish this guy from your graveyard to recur a banished face down machine with the same attack and defense. And then the last external support monster we play, which is also kind of a hand trap. One copy of Berserker, Dragon Lord of Infernos. This I use to pop cards, like, you know, because this deck doesn't have a lot of inherent back row removal. So this guy can help you pop back row. I've used it to pop, like, there can be only one, for example. And then, of course, you can summon him, and then he'll, you know, recur himself back to your hand. So, very useful card. And the only hand trap that we, like, hand trap that we play is 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's not just that she's a fire, it's just that she's honestly always going to be one of the best hand traps out there. And that's it for the monsters. I think I counted it at like 26 monsters in there. And then on to the spells. We play 2 copies of Rescue Ace HQ. I've seen a lot of builds play 1. I think you kind of need it at 2. It's got 3 effects. The first one being that while your opponent controls a monster, all of your Rescue Aces gain 500. I know it's not super big of a deal, but it does help push for damage and such. The second effect is it's a double summon for Rescue Ace monsters. So if you've already normal summoned, say the Gizmek, you can search and then summon the... And then the third effect is this is a soft, or, you know, once per turn per copy, and it does not exclude a copy of itself from this. You can target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are banished or in your graveyard. Doesn't require anything else, and you shuffle them back in the deck and you draw a card. So you could potentially, if you have 7 cards or 8 cards banished, you could get 2 free draws off that and still have a banished monster for a preventer. And the rest of the Rescue Ace back row is all 1-offs because you can recycle them so easily. The first 2 that came out were Rescue and Alert. These both have an effect. One effect if you don't control Hydrant, and they have a bonus effect you can choose to do instead if you do control Hydrant. So the first effect for Rescue is you can special summon a Rescue Ace monster from your graveyard. But if you control Hydrant, you can special summon any monster from your opponent's graveyard. So if you're dealing, you know, with Branded, you can just bring back the Fallen of Albez from their graveyard, and then they can't keep fusion summoning on you. And then Alert recurs a Rescue Ace from the graveyard, summons a Rescue Ace from the graveyard, or if you control, it does recur from the graveyard, or if you control Hydrant, it's another monster search. And then the newest one, which just like Preventer, just came out in Duelist Nexus, 1 copy of Emergency. This is like a better sort of monster gate for this deck. So you special summon a Rescue Ace monster from your deck in defense position, and then you tribute a Rescue Ace monster from your hand or your field, and it has a graveyard effect as well, where you can banish it to reset a Rescue Ace trap that's in your graveyard. And then those are all once per turn per name. And then our outside traps, triple copies of Cross-Out Designator. We all know what that does. 1 for 1. Harpy's Feather Duster to get rid of back row. Rhoda because the 3 and the 4s are actually warriors. And onto the 3 traps that we play. We play a copy of Contain. So Contain has the effect where you target an opponent's monster, and that monster's effects are negated, and it cannot attack. And then if you control Hydrant, it has a bonus effect to also make it so that the monster is essentially under no material. So no Xyz, no Link, no Synchro, no Fusion. It's literally, it turns your monster into a do-nothing that can be used as tribute fodder. And it's not once per turn. And then 1 copy of Extinguish, which on activation just destroys an opponent's face-up monster. However, if you control Hydrant, then your opponent cannot activate any of those monsters' effects until the turn is over. So say that they have, like, you know, one of the fusion monsters has a graveyard effect at the end phase. If you hit it with this, it's not going to happen. And then lastly, we have the most recent trap added, which is Reinforce. This is beautiful because it can be activated in the damage step. The first effect that it does is it gives a target Rescue Ace on your board, and that monster gains 500 attack and defense. Then that monster is also unaffected by your opponent's monster effects, and to top it all off, the next time it will be destroyed in battle, it does not. And then it has the graveyard effect very similar to Emergency. However, instead you banish it to reset a Rescue Ace spell. And that's the main 40 card build. Now for the extra deck. You play one Relinquished Anima, you know what it does. Link Karibo, Almirage. If you wanted to play something other than Almirage, but other than one of these Link 1, that's fine. This is the hardest of them to summon. For our Link 2s, we play Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, Sunlight Wolf, and IP Masquerena. Sunlight Wolf is, you know, because they're fire types, or all fires, and then when the monster hits the arrows, you get to recur free fire. I like getting free cards back. Masquerena, because what's funny is if you can go into a Link 3, say Nightmare Unicorn, with her and the Preventer, and not only will it gain her protection, but you'll get a free summon off the Preventer, which means you literally lost no card advantage other than the discard for your Unicorn, but that can obviously also be, you know, made up for with a potential search effect off of a level 4. Now for the Link 3s, because we have an easy time summoning big boys, we play the BLS Link. And we, of course, like I mentioned earlier, play Nightmare Unicorn. And then we play, for Link 4s, Boral Sword and Access Code. We like OTKs. We like dealing with our opponent's stuff pretty easily. One copy of the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. What's really fun is you can use this as in IP Masquerena to actually use one of your opponent's monsters as well, and you know, clear their board even further. And I call this next monster. It's my nickname for the Firewall Dragon Singularity is I call it the F-22, because if I'm summoning this against you, you can go home now. And you probably should. It's big. It's a Link 6. The effects are, you know, it has a bounce that also gains once per turn for, you know, other mechanics in your graveyard or on your board. I think that's about all it does. Oh, and then it's also, if it hits the grave, you can target a Cyberse in your grave and special it, which is fun. And then a little Utopia the Lightning package to deal with Kashtira, because that deck, I get annoyed by that deck. And now to the sideboard. 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. One of the best uses of this is actually against Sun Avalon Rika. When they use the effect of the tree to summon, because you know they're going to do the twins as chain 1 and the tree as chain 2. You Ghost Ogre that tree. When that resolves, both the Dryas, the tree, and the healer will go to graveyard because of the healer's own effect. And then if you do it when they do the search, then or if you do when they activate the game, you can also potentially prevent them from getting the effect off of Twin, depending on when you time it. Because Twin does require the Dryas in that deck to be the Twin requires you to control Dryas for it to get the summon. And 3 copies of the Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, just to stop graveyard stuff if you're playing a more grave-happy deck against a more grave-happy deck. If your opponent targets a lot, and you find reason that you think you can make Utopia against them, you do run 3 Saravis to prevent targeting. And also, like I said, it is a ritual monster, so that would buff the Firewall Singularity. And also it's a dragon, so you can banish it off. It's a dragon, so you can banish it as well for the Blaster Summon. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. The main reason for this, honest to God, is I find the illusions rather annoying to try and get rid of because of just what they do. This will shut off their battle protection, so you can punch over them and punch for damage. And lastly, if you're playing something back row happy, 3 copies of Twin Twister. Partially this can trigger off Preventer as well, so I'm just trying to make sure if I can trigger off Preventer, I'm going to. Because I like free advantage. But that'll be everything for it, folks. Go ahead, leave all the love, hate comments that you like. Tell me how much of a bloody scrub I am and how I should quit this game for good. But at least make sure you're going to subscribe to Terrence. He deserves it. The Lost Zone, we work our behinds off here to give you guys decent quality entertainment every once in a while. When they can get me when they can reel me in here with their fishing line. Or, you know, I'm pretty sure he's going to put an electric fence up for me soon, so that'll be fun. But otherwise, remember, it's only a war crime it's not a war crime the first time. And if you win, you won't be tried for war crimes either.